Traders. I'm Dennis Dick.
And I'm Joel L. Cannon. Welcome to Premarket Info.
Market gets what they want from Ben Bernanke. QE forever, open-ended QE policy. And the market loved it. And it builds on yesterday's rally too. We're up another 5 points here in the pre-market, but we have been drifting down. We were up as much as 8, coming down a little bit. Citigroup is bullish on the banks, raising the price target on a number of banks here this morning. And Apple, the road to 700. Joel, this market is crazy.
This is the Dennis rally.
You've been giving me nice props there. I have been bullish here for the better part of a month, but wow, just insane yesterday. I did not expect the market to take off that much there yesterday. That was crazy off the Ben Bernanke QE policy.
Yeah, what did they do? Did they come out and say they were going to buy S&Ps or something?
Basically. I mean, when they're buying, it's just going to inflate. When you're just printing money is basically what's happening here. And they left it open-ended. They basically said that they'll keep the quantitative easing going as long as it's needed. So I just think like it's something like people were saying, it's a kitchen sink Fed intervention here. They're doing everything they possibly can to get this economy going.
Okay, just looking at it from a technical perspective, you did have those clusters of highs going back to last Friday between 1430.50 and 1433 and a quarter, and that really kept a lid on the market for the majority of the morning. And then, boom! Once Ben started taking, they got the news they wanted. They blew through there, and I kept on looking for resistance, and I couldn't find any. And sure enough, we rallied up to 1357 in a Q. We've exceeded that in the pre-market by 1.25 points. So keep an eye on that level. Above that, folks, 1,500. No, I don't want to say 1,500. Was going back on the monthlies, and I saw a high at 1466 back in December of 2007.
It's crazy. You got to go back 5 years to find levels here, Joel. We are in that vacuum area that you had talked about. We went from 1,500 to 1,400 very quickly back in 2007, and now we're going back up through that area. And you know what they say, when you come down quickly through an area, you can go up quickly through that area, and we are doing that. The only thing that's got me a little bit nervous is that you have a lot of people, it seems like the shorts are throwing in the towel here, and you have a lot of people saying you can't fight the Fed. A lot of almost bullish comments coming out all of a sudden, where I'm a big market sentiment trader. Everybody knows I'm a contrarian. I like to get a feel for where overall people are positioned and go the opposite way. The reason I was so bullish back in early September was because everybody else was so bearish. It just seemed like everybody was saying this market's doomed, it's going to break down here eventually, the euro problems, there's so many things to happen. And then we got the big breakout day where it went higher, and the bears were still bearish, and you had this whole for 4 or 5 days of battle between the bulls and the bears, and that's when I published that piece that I thought the next move was higher, which obviously came to fruition with help from Ben Bernanke. But it's hard for me to continue to be so bullish when other people are starting to get bullish. So I'm not saying I'm bearish here. I would not come in here selling this market right now, but I lightened up some of my longs yesterday.
Yeah, what the pattern has been is a move up higher, consolidation, and then a breakout of the consolidation. So until we get another consolidation phase where things break down, to the downside of a pattern, you really have to maintain bullish. I haven't seen the S&Ps blow through 50 points in 6-7 trading sessions in a long time. So like you said, there's a lot of people still stuck short out there. As far as support goes, folks, you have the close at 1450.50. The Globex low got a little bit below that. So 1450 is the level. That's support. Until we crack that, you can't even think about a sell-off.
Apple, pretty decent day again for the stock yesterday, and it's continuing to rally here this morning. It is starting to get close to that $700 level. 688 is where it is this morning trading. What's the high? How high is that thing been?
It has been to 688 in a queue.
Okay, so it's right
Yeah.
there. It's sitting up there at the highs. We're 12 points away from that critical $700 level. Is that going to start acting like a magnet, or is everybody thinking too much already and maybe it starts to pull back from here?
I mean, it's only 12 points away, so it's not that far. There's absolutely no reason. I mean, you can call that resistance there, but when a stock's in a stratosphere like this, there really is no resistance. But yeah, it could definitely has a chance to see 700 today. The only numbers that I could give our traders is looking on the downside. 68, 685.50 was yesterday's high, so that would fill a gap. So that's minor support. And you also have good support at the close, the all-time high close of 682.98.
You are playing it from the long side, though. Make sure you have outs. There is a lot of air still in both directions here, because when you look at Apple, there's air up to 700, but we have rallied basically in one session from this 656 area, 30 points here. So don't kid yourself. There's air below here too. So make sure you have a reference point. If the market starts to get weak all of a sudden, you need to have an out. Always have an out. Actually, I wrote an article in CFA magazine entitled it "From the Quote Rounders Always Have Outs." I'll publish that on the site maybe later today, but you've just that's the whole trick with trading is if you can keep your losers minimized, if you know your outs, you can be wrong and still stay in the game. But it's when you get stubborn and you start holding on to positions too long that can really erode your trading gains in a hurry, and that's how you can have a bad day become a bad month or even a bad year. So
Or a
just
bad life.
or a bad life too. Know your outs, and that's why we always stress in the pre-market info show. We always try to give you levels where if it gets in, it starts to breach through there. You've got to say, look, I'm wrong with this trade. I'm going to get out. Always think about how much money you can lose on the trade. Don't go into a trade thinking about how much money I can make. Think about how much money you can lose. Have an exit strategy before you enter a trade. So, that's my little rant on that this morning. Google here is trading up in the pre-market as well. 709.05. Joel, is that going to make a new all-time high today? Or not
Oh,
all-time high, but
okay.
high on the
Okay.
move.
Whatever, Duke. I'll bet you $1 on that one.
You,
It
you
won't.
don't think it's gonna not all time high, man? 712.81. Is it gonna take that level out the high from 3 4 days
Ah,
ago?
and there's nothing stopping it. You got a huge level here. You don't see two highs in the same area like you do here at Google. 712 and a quarter, 712.81. Obviously, there were some sellers there. Will be some sellers again. Looking at the pre-market activity, we have not approached that level. Just very spotty trades in this. I wouldn't put a lot of credence in that in those prints here at 709.95. Looking at yesterday's range, 709 was yesterday's high. I would use that as a swing number if it broke below 709. There's a lot of air down to the close at 706.04. And looking at the monthlies here, if we can get through that 712 area, there's not much up there until a high going way back in '08. You had a high at 724.80.
Facebook had a tough day yesterday. The day before, obviously, there it was. Just trying to get you actually the day chart. But the day before, we had that run up from the whole 1950 area to up to 21, and then we started just pull back here. We did run up a little bit yesterday morning, but then it started to peel back. Actually, closed down on the day.
Yeah, we got to 2148. We had identified that area as a resistance point because it had two highs back in the 14th and 15th at 2141 and 2160. So we called that whole area 2150 to be resistance. Boy, this thing is tough. I mean, if you want to get longer, now everyone's waiting for your pullback. You have a lot of people that are still shorting the stock. What I think is interesting is that Zuckerberg did all that talking and it had the rally. Well, that day, 2 days ago, it opened up at 2076, had a rally, had a decline, closed near that area. Yesterday, same thing. Big rally is still closed around that area. So 2070 to close here. I think it's going to be real good area of support. If it breaks down below that, I think we get back down to the $20 level.
It is showing a little bit of relative strength here this morning, trading up 30 cents in the pre-market at 21.03, so maybe a little bit of a bounce back day. 2050 is the bogey for me. I think it starts to get below 2050, then it starts to get nervous that it might fill that gap down to the 1960 area. So this thing stays above 2050. I think you could still play from the long side. Below 2050, I'd think about an exit strategy. One with earnings blew the numbers away. ALOG, which is analogic, and the stock is trading up here 13% this morning. $1.32 they made against estimates of 71. They reported that last night, and wow, that stock is off to the races here. Trading up over $9, making a new 52-week high here today.
Yeah, and you think technical analysis doesn't work, right? Okay. 79's been the high in the pre-market. Guess what the all-time high of this stock was going back
I found it. I found it. September 30th, 2007, 79.02.
Yep, so that's a level on the upside. That little old lady from Pasadena that had her GTC order out there will be there again at 79. And boy, you look at this stock, it did have a run up. It had some major consolidation at the 76.50 level. Talking about the pre-market here. So that will be minor support. If it breaks below 76.50, Katie, bar the door.
Kramer's been doing this series on his Mad Money all week. It's breaking up what he features a stock every day that should be split up into separate companies to unlock value. Last night he talked about Manitowoc, and every time he talks about these stocks, it is pumping the stock up pretty good. Stock is trading up. It traded up last night in the 1525, 1530 area on Kramer's comments. This morning this is trading above this critical $15 level, trading at 1506, 1510. Could get a lift on these Kramer comments here again in the regular session.
1527 is where it's topped out in the pre-market. We've pulled back here to the $15 level. You had a high going back April 19th at 1511. So I'd keep an eye on that entire area. Above that 1511 area, it opens up a little bit to 1520, 15 and a quarter. Not a ton of volume associated with this move.
Citigroup is bullish. The banks here this morning raised.
Oh, really? Wow, man, what a not where they are. Gosh, man, I'm going to transfer all my accounts over to Citigroup.
They're all over this, eh? Yesterday they were all over. Yesterday they were, or it's talking with, we don't like the PC sector, so they were all over that as the PC stocks have all been making lows. And now they like the banking sector, so they like to sell low and buy high, obviously. They're raising all their price targets on the banks. Let's take a look here. A lot of these banks are trading up here this morning off this news. Bank of America is trading at 962 after closing at 940. You've got JP Morgan trading up as well, 41.84 after closing at 41.40. Citigroup itself trading stronger, 34.90 after closing at 34.45. I'd imagine you're going to find some resistance in that 35 area. What's your take on these things?
Well, I think you should have bought. Did I tell you to buy J.P. Morgan at 31?
I am not going to forgive you for that one. For you guys, I've said this a few times in the last few months. I wanted to buy this thing for my investment account back at 31. Joel totally talked me out of it. Said it was going to 29. Saved myself a couple of bucks. I would have had the bottom picked. I'd been up 10 points by now. I'd been selling, and
you would have been out by now. You would have been
my
out.
investment portfolio, I hold well. My trading account, I sell way too quick, but I'll tell you, in my investment portfolio, I hold stuff very long and very well.
Okay, let's just go back for the non-believers of technical analysis and filling the gap situation here. J.P. Morgan has come all the way back and filled the gap from the whale trade. Actually, we've exceeded it. 41.40 was the low, or 40.54 was the low that the day they announced the whale trade. Next major resistance level is around the $42 level. You had a series of tops at 42.40 and 42.68 back in early May. But just think where the stock would be if they didn't have the whale trade.
Well, hard to say too if it's going to be higher. There was major resistance up there in that 44 area, but yeah, I mean the whale trade obviously knocked the stock down $10. It's taken the better part of this bull rally to get back to where it was. So I guess you could make that argument that this thing could be kicking up here near. What was the all-time high? How far do you got to go back to get to all-time highs on that? $53?
Oh, J.P. Morgan.
Is it 53 and
Wow.
a quarter?
Let me see here. I gotta go way back in 2000.
Oh, you got to go to 2000. I don't go. My charts don't
2000,
go
I
that
got
far back.
67.17.
Oh man, so okay, well forget about all-time high, but
Yeah, it's got a ways to go. But we own another beautiful looking chart here. We talked about it a little bit. Goldman Sachs
he's
been
marching,
up, yeah,
marching.
9 out of the
Yeah,
past 10 trading sessions. You got above these highs at 120 here. I would use that as just a kind of a protective area on the downside. We're still a buck and a half away from there. You did have one high at 121.63 back on April 4th. That's a little resistance there, but above 121.63, Dennis, this thing opens up to the 125 level.
yeah. Goldman is just marching. Morgan Stanley too. That stock has just been marching as well. Stock basically just following Goldman. I mean, this was $15 about 2 weeks ago. It's now 18.19. These banks, these brokerages, just been strong, strong, strong. I mean, really, what's driven the market? It started with the European banks, and you look this morning at European banks. Deutsche Bank is up another dollar here again. Credit Suisse is up almost another dollar. ING is up another 10 cents only for ING, but a smaller price stock. Barclays up another 30 cents. These European banks have just taken off here over the last course of the last week, and they will not come back in.
No, no, and looking at the Morgan Stanley chart just to go back, boy, I tell you, here's a stock that just has not recovered from the financial crisis. This was a $75 stock back in June of 2007. Came all the way down in the single digits, 671. I mean, I feel like taking all my money out of CDs and putting it in General Electric and Morgan Stanley and hope they go back to back to the levels anywhere near their levels. GE hasn't even come back 50%, nowhere near 50% from its all-time high down to that low. I mean, there's a couple laggards, and they're laggards for a reason, but boy, if you're really long-term bullish the banks and long-term bullish the market, boy, those are two stocks that have a lot of ground to make
What
up.
about Bank America with ground to make up? That used to be $55. It's at
Yeah, I mean,
nine. A lot of the banks have not come back. I mean, Citigroup is your best example here because that stock had the reverse split. Was it 10 for 1 or whatever reverse split? Anyway, so the tops on that thing is up in the $500 area. So a lot of your banks have not even come close to coming back from the financial crisis. The financial crisis kicked the crap out of all of these things. They almost all went under. Obviously, we did lose a couple of them. So, and remember the Lehman Brothers and the Bear Stearns.
oh,
So
forget about that. That was good. It was good for the economy.
they've
It was good
watered
for
down, they've diluted, a stock like Citigroup, and I don't think that thing is ever coming back. So I'm just not. I don't think even these Morgan Stanleys and stuff. I'm not a big fan of investing in these things for the long term until you can get a real rally without that's not government stimulated here. So here I am, the kind of the bull, the short term bull, but I tell you, still long term, I don't know if I would buy these things for investments. I just can't see it.
Okay, just a couple other technical formations that we'd like to talk about, our traders, before we close out the show. You have Pfizer. Boy, there's a wall here. It was at 24, 26, and now it seems to bust through there a little bit. You have some more highs at 24.36, and then, of course, you have the 52-week high at 24.49. Is there some news on Pfizer this morning? It's trading up 9 cents. I mean,
If there's
that's
news
like
that's trading up 9 cents, the thing
yeah.
doesn't move. No news, but you are getting into this area. It is so littered with institutional sellers from 24.35 all the way up to 24.50. I see institutional sellers all over the place with hundreds of thousands of shares throughout that area, with 24.50 really being the big capper. So you got high frequency traders that are just leaning that area, scalpers, day traders, everybody's selling it short in that whole area. Until it can get above 24.5, hard to get bullish this stock, but sometimes they like to slowly cut through and start climbing through those areas. So not saying it can't get through there, but it's going to be a fight and it's going to be a struggle for that to continue higher through that 24.50 area with so many sellers in there.
Okay, and speaking of sellers, Microsoft, we were talking about this before we got on the show. I identified the double top here at 31.18. If it makes another run at that level to again, perhaps a third time, it can take it out and get up to 31.36. Here's a stock that really has not recovered from its all-time high up in the 50s, but this stock was a 37.50 in late 2007. It's come back. You mentioned you threw in the towel on your long here, so
I did.
maybe I should look at the 40 calls.
Maybe you should. I actually have had Microsoft in my account, in my investment account, for the better part of 6 or 7 years. I bought it at $30, just a couple hundred shares just for an investment. Years ago, I've sat on that thing forever. I mean, I'm getting a little dividend of 2%. I've been looking at it through this 31 area, and here the market has been breaking out. We've tacked on 50 S&P points. This Microsoft has not still gotten through this 31 area. If the market rallies 50 points and this Microsoft still can't really get through this 31 area, that's a tell for me. I think the relative strength on this thing is terrible. With Intel lowering guidance, with Apple taking everybody to the woodshed, behind the woodshed, I just can't see holding Microsoft in my investment portfolio anymore. So I dumped those 200 shares yesterday in my investment portfolio. I don't know, maybe this is the bottom now that I've finally gotten rid of this and this thing's going to march to 40, but it's going to march without me. I think I'm done as an investment with Microsoft. And if it keeps showing this 31 and it can't rally, maybe there's a trade in here too. I'm not sure.
Okay, well, the S&Ps are just sitting up here in the upper part of its range, 1357 area.
1457. I got to kick you in the head for these 1300. You never look at the handles. I know you got to look 1400, 1357. We're at 1457.
All right, I'm just not going to say the handle anymore.
Say 57.
Yeah, people
There's high frequency traders that would try to fool you on that. What they do in the morning is they literally, if the stock closes at 24, they bid like 23. So if the stock closes like 24.11, they'll bid 23.11, hoping somebody doesn't look at the handle, and then that they'll get hit, thinking, "Oh, I'm selling the stock flat," but you're really selling it down $1. You're going to get taken advantage by those guys that are running those programs, Joel. You got to look at the handle in this high frequency trading world.
Okay, well, anyways, just keep an eye on 57.25, which was yesterday's high. 58.50 was the Globex high. As I mentioned, next resistance level above that is 14.66. That's our show for the day, folks, and we'll be back with you on Monday.